All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division, where Jaron Boots Ennis is informing people through his trainer and father, Bozy Ennis, that he will be fighting the winner of Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford next, that there will be no rematch unless they drop the IBF belt. Now, before I get into the details of it, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And also, if you are a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you very much for your support. But before we get into that, I just want to tell you real fast about today's sponsor, the Boxing Showtime app. It's a very useful app that keeps you updated on all things boxing, and you can keep up with the latest fights, where to watch them, the latest news, and a lot more. For any hardcore boxing fan like myself, and most likely all of y'all, I would definitely recommend downloading it. And it also is most definitely a big support to the channel. It's available for both Apple and Android, and you can find the link in the description below. Thanks for considering downloading Boxing Showtime's app. But let's get back into the subject matter of the video. Bozy Ennis was interviewed I do believe it was by YSM Sports Media and several other boxing media outlets ahead of a fight. I do believe that he has a fighter that may be on the undercard of the Teofimo Lopez versus Josh Taylor fight, which will be taking place this evening. And he was asked about the Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford fight, and his answer was very interesting. He says that the next fight for Jaron Ennis after the fight that he has with Roman Villa will be the winner of the Errol Spence Terrence Crawford fight. If they do not fight him, the winner will be stripped of the IBF title and Jaron Ennis will fight for a vacant IBF title, and that the rematch for that fight with Errol and Terrence Crawford would not be for the undisputed title. Now, this is interesting information, because if it is true, and I will give you my opinion on whether or not it is true or not, it would be unprecedented in the sport of boxing for that to take place, for two fighters to enter into a conversation for the undisputed title, have the contracts approved by the sanctioning bodies, because I do believe that your individual contract has to be approved by the IBF. They have to approve the fight. And something like an immediate rematch clause in that contract, I think, is something that would need to get passed by the IBF or the sanctioning bodies in order to do that. So the idea that they would strip Errol Spence Jr. or Terrence Crawford for a rematch that pretty much everybody in the world knew was in the making, one way or the other, whether Terrence Crawford wins it or Errol Spence Jr. wins it, that is a little bit, that's hard to foresee. However, this wouldn't be the first time that boxers and people in general really don't understand the rules of boxing. I know not the rules of boxing inside the ring. I think it's very obvious that boxers know the rules when they're fighting in the ring. What I'm saying is that, as a lot of times, people don't know the sanctioning body rules. They don't understand. They haven't read the rules, and if they do read the rules, don't always have a clean understanding or a clear understanding of what the rules mean. So the idea that it's not hard to believe when somebody says, okay, hey man, you got the IBF mandatory, or yeah, you're going to be the IBF mandatory now that you're the interim champion, that would mean that one fight for him against Errol Spence Jr. And after that, they're going to appeal and petition to get that fight and break up that rematch, and that's available to them. I think if you read the rules, that very well may be available to them. But when you look at the politics of the situation and the money to be made and the significance of the fight, that the rematch will more than likely take place for the undisputed title. And Jaron Ennis is probably going to have to wait until after all of those fights are vacated. And in order for him to really go on a path to become undisputed himself, he's going to have to fight the guys that wind up winning those vacant belts, whether they be a Keith Thurman who gets, a shot at the WBC against somebody. Obviously, Stanionis, the winner of Stanionis and Virgil Ortiz, that guy more than likely, if the WBA super title is vacated, then they're just going to be the WBA champion. As many people know, the WBA is really trying to consolidate belts, and like at 160 pounds, when Gennady Golovkin gave up his title, the WBA super title at 160 pounds, Erislandy Lara is now considered the full champion, but he did not get elevated into the designation of WBA super champion. So more than likely, the guy that's going to be there will be either Stanionis, the winner of Stanionis Ortiz for the WBO, and for the WBA and the WBO. What they call that? They call that the whatever Bob ordered belt. So I have a suspicion that Josh Taylor, if and when he beats Teofimo Lopez, if he moves up, that belt is going to be there and be available for somebody at the 140 pound division to move up and fight for. If it's not Josh Taylor, it very well could be somebody like a Jose Ramirez if he ever pulls his head out that duck sauce, out of the duck sauce that he's got it buried in after not fighting Regis Prograis multiple times. Man, Jose Ramirez is such a disappointment. But I would think the most likely guy to be able to fight for that vacant belt would be Josh Taylor moving up. Now, if that winds up being the case and Errol Spence moves up to 154, Terrence Crawford does whatever Terrence Crawford does, which is probably moved to 154 before he would be willing to fight the guys like Jaron Ennis and like things like people like that. That means that the 147 pound division will be really exciting again, just like it is now. Only difference is that we're going to have just as hard a time rather, getting all these guys to fight each other, because at that point in time, there won't be anybody that is really a big cash cow type fighter to drive the whole undisputed thing, right? And the undisputed will not be held by one promotional company like the 135 pound titles were held by Bob Arum, right? And where it makes it easier for him to make all of those fights. And you see that Bob Arum isn't willing to do that when he's got 3 of the belts at 175 pounds. He's not willing to fight, have Arthur Beterbiev fight Dmitry Bivol under the guise of some Ukrainian issue when they're both Russians. So like the WBC says that they are not going to allow Dmitry Bivol to fight for a WBC belt, even though he holds 3 other belt. He holds the WBA belt. And why wouldn't you recognize another champion and allow him to fight for your belt because of a war he has nothing to do with? While your champion in the same division is from the same country that he is. I just think that is just a ruse and a way to just get out of a fight that those guys don't want to make, because Bivol has a chance to beat Beterbiev and there's not a lot of money in that fight. So, why take the chance on either side of it, where the matchroom guys where Bivol fights are probably a lot more adamant about having Bivol just stay there and wait to fight Canelo whenever Canelo decides that he's ready and under whatever circumstance that they can make that happen. But at the end of the day, I'm saying that the unifications are not that easy to make when there's not a really big money fighter involved. And it looks like Jaron Ennis is probably going to have to take that route of collecting all of them, you know, one by one if he can. If not, you know, he's going to have to go chase those guys, Errol and Terrence, up there to 154 pounds, or Errol to, or yeah, whoever wins the fight up to 154 pounds to really get a shot at them. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.